Hello everyone and welcome to the webinar. Well, first, thank you for joining ADESA Group for today's webinar, SAP Options for Workforce Management. In a moment, we will be joined by today's speaker, Jose Maria Almendros. But first, I wanted to share a few things about our webinar. During the webinar, all attendee microphones are on mute. We will answer submitted questions at the end of the presentation, of course, but if you have questions in the meantime, you may type them at any time in the question box in the meeting control panel. You do not need to wait until the end to type your questions, okay? At the end of the session, if there is no time left to answer every question, we will reply to you via email. Also, for your information, this webinar is being recorded. The recording will be shared on our website at desagroup.com within 2 business days after the webinar ends. In today's presentation, the main idea is to go through an introduction to workforce management and the framework at the time of selecting a workforce management solution. It is important to clarify that after this introduction, specific webinar sessions with experts on each area are planned. We will inform you about the dates for each session at the end of today's meeting. The webinars will be 1 hour maximum, although our goal is to keep it short and relevant, so we will aim to finish between 30 and 45 minutes. Okay, so having said that, and to make it more friendly and dynamic, we would like to start with a short video that we consider as a very good introduction to be able to present and go through the next slide we have prepared. So hope you enjoyed the webinar and thank you again for joining.
Artificial intelligence and machine learning have been called the future of work. But that's not our view. You see, we believe the future of work is people, and that machine learning is actually going to set us free from the tasks that eat up our time at work. With time off requests, editing punches, scouring for actionable data, confirming payroll is still all pretty important stuff. So what if you didn't have to do it anymore? Kronos lets you work smarter, taking care of the things that keep you from doing the work that really matters.
Oh, glad I didn't have to worry about that shift.
Wow, that was fast.
Wait, I don't need to handle time cards anymore? Woohoo!
Wow, that was easy.
Yes, that was easy, and it was really easy. We had in this video, which is a really good marketing video, but as you have seen, we have happy employees, a super user-friendly tool, but believe me, it makes absolutely sense. Engage employees, sorry, I will start in the presentation mode. Hopefully, everyone can see my screen perfectly. And yes, go ahead. So yeah, as I was saying, this was a really good marketing video. We had happy employees. It was easy, as this woman mentioned. And yeah, we had a super user-friendly tool. But as I also said, it makes absolutely sense. Engaged employees feel like the work that they are performing is really having an impact in the company. And this is something that it really matters to them. So we need to help them to achieve this status. You know that people want to enjoy their working day, and they really feel like they are making a meaningful contribution to their employer. Happy employees will never leave our company, and it is more. They will recommend to some other colleagues to come and to work to our company, and this is actually the idea here. So for that, we have defined these 4 factors to keep in mind, and of course, that are really contributing on this. So we have the safety, we have the flexibility, we have the fairness, and we have the motivation. All of them, all together, if we consider or we think about all of them together, like in one shot, yes, it means job satisfaction, engagement, and of course, feeling valued. So I know that our topic today is workforce management and that we are not here to tell you how to manage your employees, but it is worth noting to mention that workforce management has an important role inside of all of this tremendous and big process. So okay, and after having introduced these main factors that we consider, let's now review some bad consequences that we have defined or that we have thought about, and also coming from some statistics of having a bad workforce management. So if we go into the next slide, the first one, which is about the engagement, of course, engagement here. But here, I would say, why do you think that our workers are experiencing burnout so frequently? Normally, the evidence says or suggests that organizations need to figure out a way of controlling and administering the workloads of their employees more effectively. But of course, and with this in mind, it will appear that technology it's either lacking the scope that we really need here or not being implemented at all. It's something to keep in mind and to consider. Then we have the next one, which is about the trust. Here we have some statistics, and numbers never lie. Approximately 1 in 4 employees will look for a new job opportunity after the first payroll mistake. It's not my case, but it seems to be like that. It's not only that. We have also some statistics, some numbers that said that salaried employees are more likely than hourly workers to start looking for a new job after the first problem. Again, something to consider and to keep in mind because it's something quite important to think about. And then the last one, but not the least, we have the cost, we have the money. Money is always there. But yes, it's really, really well represented here. Unnecessary admin work is costing U.S. organization around 687 billion, yes, with B, dollars per year. So yeah, it's a way too much. And of course, yeah, I leave it there. And of course, some consequences, in this case, some bad consequences of having a bad workforce management, something that we wanted also to introduce to you. Okay, so now that we have been speaking and commenting about factors, bad consequences of workforce management, I would ask, what you think that could be preventing organization from being successful? So for this, again, we have a few more characteristics or factors that we have here, but I would like to start asking yourself if you consider that your working life is too complicated. So what do you think that could be improved for that? Of course, there might be many, many things, but what do you think that could be preventing organization, in this case, from being successful? So the first one that I wanted to introduce is about the technology. Technology is essential. It's really essential, but it might be the case that technology it's not actually facilitating or helping us. Of course, it might be the case that it is on the other side, or it might be bringing complexity, which shouldn't be the case. So technology should be there to help us, to help our managers, to help our employees in our daily working days. So for that, and then we have introduced, or we have commented technology, complexity. We have another one, which is about the leadership. Leadership from the top down and from the bottom up. Employees, again, need to feel valued, and managers need actively treat people as priority. With a good example, of course, with leadership, and of course, with communication. We need communication between our manager, between our employees. If I'm an employee, it will be easy for me to have access to the schedules of my colleagues. If I'm working in an industry, in a factory, I should have access, for example, to the schedule of my colleagues. I could quickly go and, for example, propose a chain of shift. Those kind of things, it's something that technology, of course, the communication, the opportunity, not the complexity, should be bringing to us, should be facilitating us our daily basis. So now that we have defined these factors, I would call like that, I would like to mention something about the new generation. Traditionally, time and attendance solutions were based on administrative processes, but this is now having a real impact on the employee, manager, and administrative level. Treating employees as commodities, costs, liabilities, this is really in sharp contrast to the expectation of the newcomers. Of course, we consider that it is worth noting to mention that here that the importance of all of this generation, here we have, for example, included the millennials, the generation Z. Keep in mind, these people won't stay in our organization long unless they feel valued and empowered by this, of course, by the technology, by their managers, by the company, of course, about the work that they are performing. They need to feel valued. Millennials and this kind of people, this generation, Z, and so on, we have the case time versus money, working remotely, thinking about, as I said, time more than if I'm spending overtime, I would like to receive that in time, not in money. So it's not like some years ago. So again, something to, to think about. Workforce management tools provide operational insight to all of these areas, let's say time and attendance, scheduling, absence management, etc. And you know that many of these workforce management requirements could be handled manually by smaller organizations. But on the other hand, they quickly become quite important. They quickly become system priorities. And for those managing large workforces, multi-projects, or fast growth, this might shouldn't be the case. And of course, they will need some help. They will need a workforce management application. In other words, and something that we are really putting this on the table, even here at ADESA, we need to be, or it should be part of the roadmap of our companies to see how technology is changing, to see how we can provide a better functionality and cause less frustration to our managers and to our employees. So I'm not going to continue speaking about this. Now that we have introduced a bit about these factors, bad consequences, how could companies create trust, all the different factors also that we consider, what could be the ideal situation? So for that, we have defined this connected workforce, where we have an employee, we have a manager, and we have the company. All of them, all together in the same circle, in the same hierarchy, if we call it like that. We have the employee satisfied, of course, being more productive and empowered by the manager with more time and less administrative tasks. And of course, we have a company with improved data accuracy and a reduced workforce management cost. So this is actually the ideal situation. All of them all together, all of them getting benefited about it. So now let's jump into the framework, something that we have defined, and of course I would say the most important topic here, which is about the framework that we had defined at the time of selecting workforce management system, workforce management application. So what could be the factors that we really need, or that we would really need to think about at the time of, thinking about a workforce management solution, if our company is thinking about changing the way of working in terms of scheduling, time and attendance, the time sheet, how the data is introduced in the system, how we could be helping our employees. So for that, we have defined a framework on factors that would be more adapted and of course would be helping you at the time of deciding and thinking about it. So the first slide that we have here is including 4 factors. The first one, flexible platform. I really need to say that I don't like the word flexible, but on the other hand, it really fits here. We need an open platform that offers integration with most of the popular HCM or payroll systems, let's say SAP, Oracle, Workday, ADP, etc. We also need a platform that supports several types of data catch-ups, let's say smartphone, tablets, time clocks, desktop application. So we need a platform, or we need an application that where we should be able to introduce data from any device. Last one and not the least, it's something that we have included here, of course, based on our experience, and it's about a multi-language tool. We can certainly say, and this is something that we really face it in some other projects, that a multi-language tool might be a problem for some companies. For example, in Belgium, we are pretty sure that this would be really much appreciated, having a multi-language tool. Then let's skip to the next one, which is about the local and the global compliance. Of course, we are all aware, we have all heard about GDPR, the Global Data Protection Regulation here in Europe, but our solution must comply with most of the recent national, local, and industry regulation. But it's not only that, it should be able to easily put new regulation in place. Of course, this is related to the total cost of ownership. It wouldn't make sense that if we need to put a new regulation in place, we are going to spend too much time, figuring out how to introduce or how to implement the new regulation or to put that in place in our tool. So it should be really easy to do that. And then, of course, as I mentioned initially, the GDPR. This is another topic. We are not going into that, but of course, something quite related because, all the different templates locally, by country, that's something also to keep in mind. And if that's something that we could be informed at the time of looking or, getting information from the different providers, that should be really good. Then the next one, it's about proactive alerts. Here we have the KPIs, the key performance indicators for the manager. They should be providing visibility on mission critical for our managers. This is quite important. Even the possibility of creating your own KPIs, this is actually a pro in this kind of tools. Then we should also be proactively notifying our managers in terms of approval notification or even unexpected overtime or absences. I'm a manager, I need to know if any of my employees came late today, or even if they are absent and for whatever reason, I have not been notified. I need to look for a replacement. I need to be aware because that might be creating an issue in my company. So again, quite important factor here. Then the last one of this slide, it's about the real-time visibility. Here we have, of course, it's really well defined here, having real-time visibility across your entire workforce in terms of even for example, the different departments, the financial department, they should have access to whatever information they require or they need from our system. They should be able to report, to create reports, and of course, to get the corresponding information that they really need to continue with the work that they are performing. But on the other hand, it should be also easy to gather accurate information on labor activities in terms of all the different projects that our company is performing. Those kind of things is something that should be also provided. Okay, so let's now skip to the next slide. We have 4 more factors. These are the last one that we have considered at the time of selecting an application. And the first one here is about the complete coverage. Yes, complete coverage in terms of our tools should be providing the required functionality for every type or all the type of employees that we have in our company. Let's say either salaried employees, hourly employees, part-time employees, contingent workers, several managers, or a manager managing several departments, employees reporting to several managers. Those kind of things are something that we really need to think about before. Otherwise, it might be the situation, and it's something that we also face it in some projects. We are there, and then we speak about contingent workers. Yes, but this is not covered. So it's something again to think about even before moving forward and deciding what's the real application that we want. So we should be sure that this is covering all of our needs, or at least the most important for us. Then we have the security. Now with those cloud-based, fancy and modern solution, security, yes, companies might be afraid about the data storage, what might be happening in case of, or if there is an existing disaster recovery plan, if there are certification or security controls and procedures, and not only that, something that we also need to keep in mind, it's about the providers' data centers. Where are these data centers located? Are they in countries with stringent laws or policies governing? Again, security, it's not only what we initially think about as security, which is just about, okay, where is my data? No, there are many, many things to think about at the time of security. Then we have the easy of use. Here we would need to be looking for a solution with quick user adoption. This quick user adoption is also related to the training. Newcomers, it should be easily, or there should be an easily adoption for the newcomers in terms of training. If we provide an easy tool, it means that our employees would be using this tool, would be willing to use the tool. It's not creating complexity, it's not creating a very time-consuming task. On the other hand, this is facilitating the working day. This is helping them, and that's actually what we need to achieve here. And then the last one, it's always the last, but it's always there. It's about the pricing. Of course, here we need, or the pricing, it's something that we need to think about in terms of how easily should be maintained and kept up to date our tool. In terms of upgrades, it should be easy that every time that there is a new upgrade, every time that there is a new functionality coming, how is this going to be implemented in our system? Do we require a new project? Do we require months of implementation because of that? And of course, the cost of the licenses. It's something also to keep in mind. So having said that, and then that we have now that we have reviewed the 8 factors that we consider to be taken into account at the time of selecting a workforce management application, and the way and also the reason why we have presented this way, it's also because of the next slide. Here in the next slide, which is basically the reason why we presented this way, it's displaying the different or the primary factors at the time of selecting a workforce management application. This is coming from the Sierra Cedar survey system. And here you might be noticing that the cost is the most important one for all the companies, multinational companies who participated in this survey. But what I wanted to remark and to highlight here, it's about the user experience. The user experience is becoming more and more important now with a 53. I don't know about 2019 and the next coming years, but again, something to consider, because this is becoming more and more important. Of course, if we provide a tool that is easy to use, that it's actually motivating our employees to start using it, because this is helping them, this is facilitating the way that they perform all the administrative tasks in the system. It's easy for me as an employee to go and change or to propose a shift change to my colleagues, to display the calendar, the whole calendar of my colleagues, for my manager to be notified about their proactive alerts. So this is really something important at the time of selecting it. Another factors that I wanted to mention, because we are not going through all of them, but here again we have of course, in the second place we have the integration, as we mentioned, in the flexible platform. Yes, we need it. So we need a specific application which should be or might be integrated with, at least with our HR system. Might be SuccessFactors Employee Central, might be Workday, Oracle, but at least the solution should be there. It should be providing us an automated integration where we receive all the employee master data. Well, with this slide, I'm ending the introduction, which I hope you find interesting. But as Silvia commented, don't forget that next week, Thursday, at the same time, we will start with more specific and expert views on the workforce management application. So for that, we have included here this slide, just a way to recap and to summarize all the different webinars that we will continue introducing. So on the 14th of November, we will have a Kronos expert demonstrating a bit more about all the good things that we have already heard about Kronos dimensions. The week after, this is to happen on the 21st of November. It is time to speak about SuccessFactors Easy Time. And with this, we will have our colleague Sven Ringlen. I think that there is no need to present him, but I'm pretty sure that this is going to be quite interesting as well. Then on the next one, and following the SuccessFactors Employee Central Time webinar, we will continue with an SAP Fiori one. SAP, it might be not known, or it might be that we think about it in a different way, but consider Fiori as an alternative to all these fancy and modern platform or cloud-based platform. Fiori is really powerful. We will know more. We will have our colleague Kevin Pilet. He will be explaining and he will demonstrate. He will go into the different timesheet application, my request. So he will be doing the demo, and I'm pretty sure that you will know more, and of course you will like it, or maybe, yeah, you will think about it as an alternative. Then, to conclude, we will finish on the 5th of December with Workforce Software. Yes, this is another powerful cloud-based application. It's really very popular in the US, and now it seems to be starting taking a place here in Europe too. So, of course, something that we wanted to present, something where we also have experience. So yes, we will know more, and we will hear more about this on the 5th of December. And then on the 12th of December, we have also planned a recap session where, based, of course, on our experience and together with all of our colleagues who has worked on several projects and so on, we will go through all the 4 solutions that we have presented. We'll try to review and we will try to compare the strength of each one, pros and cons. Where do I need to go for this? Where do I need to go for this and other? So that's something that we will do on the last session on the 12th of December. Now that we speak about questions, of course, if you have some questions, I suppose that you, as Silvia commented, you might you have been introducing and asking those questions and sending those questions to us. So let's start with some of them that we have received here. Oh, we have this funny slide that Silvia added here. Yes, so I see here that, yes, here the first question says, are you planning to demo the tools presented in the coming session? Yes, so yeah, as we just said, and also Silvia introduced, for each session there will be one specialist explaining in detail the main features about each option. So yeah, and we will be including a live demo, so you will have a complete view on exactly on each solution and what could be provided for each one. Yes, I see a second question here. Yeah, you send in the presentation. Yeah, for this, also Silvia explained that. So we will upload the recording to the ADESA website, and we will send you the link via email within the 2 next business days after the webinar. So you will have access to the whole presentation. And of course, if we don't have time to respond or to answer to all the questions, we will be sending to you specifically an answer to the question that you made. Yes, I have here another. Yes, here it says in the first slide you mentioned about. Okay, so let's go to the first slide. I think it's gonna be easier. Yes, in the first slide you mentioned about 4 factors related to the employee engagement. Do you have some specific examples related to a workforce management and application? This is a good question, actually. And yes, absolutely. So I would say that for safety, maybe we can think about GDPR. So in terms of data, me as an employee, I know, or I'm aware that the data that the company or that my company owns about me, it's actually there. And of course, I know about the privacy of my data. So we could maybe relate this to GDPR. Then for flexibility, yes, I would say that we could be relating this in terms of scheduling, as we have mentioned. So we have an employee who would like to change his or her working day or his working schedule. So that's something that we could be relating to flexibility in terms of, yes, me as an employee, I can ask to another colleague to change my shift. And of course, that's offering me flexibility because I can manage my own schedules depending on my needs. Then for the fairness, this is a good one. And I would relate this, or I would maybe introduce this with overtime in terms of, I'm pretty sure that the time that I'm spending is really going to be taken into account. This is, in a way, now that I'm thinking, related to the new European regulation about, not sure if you heard about it in Spain, but in Spain we had some kind of new European regulation where we needed to track all the time that we are doing every day, and it came because of a bank related to the overtime and so on. So yes, in terms of fairness, it might be the case, or it's supposed to be the case, that of course all the time that I'm working, it's going to be tracked, and of course I will have access, and I'm pretty sure that if I have 2 hours of overtime, this is going to be reimbursed to me, either by time, either by money, but depending on the rules of my company, but kind of fairness for that. And then the motivation, I would end with this one in terms of the easiness of the tool. I really feel motivated to go to work if I'm really going to find a good tool, a good application that is going to help me, that is going to facilitate to me my working day. So I would say like that. Then I think we have another questions. No, I think that's all. But yeah, I see that we have, Silvia, do we have more time, or otherwise? I think because you wanted to. I'm not sure about the time because my screen is with the
It's
webinar.
11:30. I believe we can. Yeah, we have a few more minutes.
We have another question, which was, is flexibility not a factor or influence for choosing a system? It is, definitely it is. Flexible platform, as we commented, and of course, we, for example, in the previous question that I replied, we introduced the flexibility in terms of on the employee engagement. In this case, it's about the factors. So this is related to the employee engagement. So it's how about flexible or the environment of work it's going to be. If we think about the flexibility of the tool, yes, this is definitely a factor that we should consider. And of course, as we mentioned, so flexible platform, completely integrated with some other HR system and so on. Okay, so I think that we have no more questions. So Silvia, I think that you still wanted to, I will go still to the next slide that I had. So I know that you wanted to still to mention something, so please go ahead.
Indeed, thank you very much. Thanks all. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. So we have prepared a small survey for you that we launch right now. It's basically one question. So what are for you the most important factors at the time of selecting a workforce management solution? You can answer interactively. I'm launching right now. Okay, and in the meantime, while you are answering, I would like to send to you some useful links. Also, if you think about other factors that are not in the list, feel free to type them in the chat section in the meeting control panel, okay? So we can have all the answers into account. While this survey is ongoing, I will post in the chat a few links that could be useful as resources. These are blogs about workforce management and its SAP options. If you have a few minutes, it's definitely worth to have a look. So right now, I'm going to paste that while you are voting. All right, you have the links in the chat panel. The poll, I will close it now. And if you can see, we have, okay, so this is pretty well distributed. We have 50% think that security and local and global compliance is the most important factor, one of the most important factors. Only 5%, so that's the less one, proactive alerts. It wins complete coverage of the solution very well, followed by ease of use, cost, security and local and global compliance, and proactive alerts. So clear winner is complete coverage of the solution, which makes total sense. Well, in fact, each solution has its own pros and cons, right? And over the next few weeks, we will be able to explore all of them. So at the end of the series, the main goal of this webinar series is that you have a clear understanding of your possibilities and what is best for your company. Of course, we will not be able to provide full end-to-end, but with the demos and with the experts, at least you will have a more clear view on what are your possibilities. So, well, now if you have specific questions or would like to schedule a more detailed session for any of the workforce management solutions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or Jose Maria. We will gladly help you. We can schedule more specific session, as I said. We will end the webinar now. So thank you very much for your attendance, and we really hope to see you next week.